Tae-sung walked through the massive cafeteria of Galactic University Station Kepler-7, his stomach growling. The cafeteria was huge, almost the size of a football field back on Earth. Hundreds of alien students sat at tables, eating foods that came in colors and shapes he had never imagined. Some meals glowed. Others seemed to move on their own. The smells were strange, a mix of sweet, sour, and things he could not even describe. He had been at the university for 3 months now, one of only 5 humans in a school of over 10,000 alien students. Most days he ate the standard nutrition paste from the human-safe food dispenser. It tasted like cardboard mixed with vitamins, but it kept him alive. Today, however, he wanted to explore. His friend Hana walked beside him, carrying her own tray of paste. She was more careful than Tae-sung, always reading the safety labels twice before trying anything new. "Please tell me you are not planning to eat something weird again," she said, looking at him with worried eyes. "I am just looking," Tae-sung said with a smile. Looking never hurt anyone. "Last week you looked at that purple fruit and then ate it. You turned blue for 2 days, but I did not die, and it tasted amazing." Hana shook her head but could not help smiling. She had known Tae-sung since their training on Earth. He was curious about everything, sometimes too curious. But that was why he made a good xenobiology student. He wanted to understand alien life by experiencing it, not just by reading about it in books. They found a table near the window where they could see the stars outside. Space was beautiful here, with 3 nearby planets visible in the distance. As they sat down, Tae-sung noticed a crowd gathering near the delivery entrance of the cafeteria. "What is happening over there?" he asked. Hana looked over. "I do not know. Maybe a special delivery." Tae-sung's curiosity pulled him to his feet. "Let us go see." They walked over to the crowd, where students from dozens of different species were gathered around a large container. The container was made of thick glass, and inside were 3 enormous eggs. Each egg was the size of a watermelon, with a shell that glowed with soft blue and green light. The eggs were beautiful, like giant opals. A small insectoid student standing next to Tae-sung looked up at him with multiple eyes. "Those are Vorath eggs," the student said in a quiet voice. His name was Bix, and he was in Tae-sung's xenobiology class. "Very dangerous." "Very, very dangerous." "Dangerous eggs?" Tae-sung asked. "How can an egg be dangerous?" Before Bix could answer, a loud voice cut through the crowd. "Everyone step back. These specimens are extremely toxic." Professor Velmora pushed through the crowd. She was a crystalline, standing 7 feet tall with 4 arms and skin that looked like purple crystal. She was the head of the xenobiology department and took safety very seriously. She wore 3 different scanning devices on her arms and had a permanent frown on her face. "These Vorath eggs are here for educational purposes only," Professor Velmora announced, her voice sharp and clear. "They are part of our new exhibit on extreme survival adaptations. Under no circumstances should anyone touch these eggs, and absolutely no one should even think about consuming them." She pointed one of her 4 hands at a warning label on the container. The label was written in 17 different languages, and each one said the same thing in bright red letters: "Toxic, do not consume, lethal to all known species." "The Vorath is a predator species from the Outer Rim," Professor Velmora continued, now in full lecture mode. "These eggs contain a neurotoxin so powerful that it has killed members of 43 documented species. Even touching the shell can cause severe reactions in some beings. The contents of these eggs are considered the most dangerous natural food item in the known galaxy." The crowd murmured with fear and fascination. Some students backed away. Others leaned in closer, wanting to see the deadly eggs better. Tae-sung studied the eggs carefully. They did look beautiful. The glow came from inside, pulsing gently like a heartbeat. He wondered what they would taste like. Back on Earth, he had eaten all kinds of eggs. Chicken eggs, duck eggs, quail eggs, even century eggs that his grandmother made, which were preserved in clay and ash for months until they turned black and gelatinous. Other people thought century eggs looked disgusting, but Tae-sung loved them. "What kind of toxin?" Tae-sung asked. Professor Velmora turned to look at him, her crystalline eyes narrowing. "A neurotoxin that attacks the central nervous system, combined with a hemotoxin that breaks down blood cells, and a digestive enzyme that dissolves stomach lining from the inside. Death occurs within minutes for most species, sometimes seconds." "Why do you ask, human?" "Just curious," Tae-sung said. Hana grabbed his arm. Do not even think about it, she whispered. I am just asking questions, he whispered back. Professor Vellamora continued her lecture, explaining how the Vorith species evolved these toxic eggs to prevent predators from eating them. She described the chemical composition, the evolutionary advantage, and the documented deaths. She spoke for 15 minutes, making sure everyone understood how dangerous these eggs were. Finally, she dismissed the crowd. The eggs will be moved to the secure exhibition hall within the hour. Until then, security drones will guard them. I repeat, do not touch, do not attempt to open, and absolutely do not consume. The crowd slowly dispersed. Students went back to their meals, chattering about the deadly eggs. Vic scurried away quickly, clearly frightened. Hana pulled Tae-sung back toward their table. That was interesting, Tae-sung said as they sat down. That was terrifying, Hana corrected. 43 species, Tae-sung, dead from eating those eggs. But has a human ever tried one? Hana stared at him. Please tell me you are joking. I am just wondering. Humans are not on that list of 43 species. That is because no human has been stupid enough to try. Tae-sung ate his nutrition paste slowly, but his mind was elsewhere. He thought about all the things humans ate that other species found disgusting or dangerous. He thought about his grandmother's century eggs, about fermented kimchi, about the hot peppers his uncle grew that made people cry. He thought about how his roommate from Europe ate cheese filled with live mold. He thought about how humans drank alcohol, which was literally poison, just for fun. After lunch, Tae-sung told Hana he needed to go to the library. She believed him and went to her next class. Instead, Tae-sung went back to the cafeteria. The eggs were still there, now surrounded by 4 security drones. The drones floated in the air, their sensors scanning for threats. Tae-sung walked up slowly, acting casual like he was just passing by. He looked at the eggs again. They were beautiful. The warning labels covered the container, screaming danger in multiple languages. But Tae-sung had a theory. Humans had the strongest stomach acid of any species at the university. Human gut bacteria were incredibly diverse and aggressive. The human immune system was known for being almost violent in how it attacked foreign substances. Maybe, just maybe, humans could handle it. Before he could talk himself out of it, Tae-sung reached out. The security drones beeped a warning, but they were programmed to stop theft, not to stop someone from touching. His hand went to the container's emergency release latch, designed for evacuation situations. He pulled the latch. The container opened. Alarms started blaring immediately. The security drones surrounded him, beeping frantically. Students screamed. Someone shouted for Professor Vellamora. Tae-sung reached in and grabbed one of the massive eggs. It was warm in his hands, heavier than he expected. The shell felt smooth, almost slippery. He could feel the glow against his skin. "Human, stop!" Professor Velmora's voice echoed through the cafeteria as she ran toward him. Tae-sung did not stop. He lifted the egg above his head and brought it down hard against the edge of a table. The shell cracked with a sound like breaking glass. Glowing liquid spilled out, thick and silver blue, shimmering with that same internal light. "You cannot eat that!" Professor Velmora screamed, still running. "You will die!" Tae-sung looked at the broken egg in his hands. The smell was strange, but not bad, like the ocean mixed with vanilla. He thought about backing down. He thought about apologizing and putting the egg down. Instead, he lifted it to his lips and drank. The liquid was thick and warm, sliding down his throat. It tasted rich and complex, like a duck egg, but creamier, with a slight sweetness and a metallic tang. It was actually delicious. He gulped down the entire contents of the egg in 4 large swallows. The cafeteria went completely silent. 300 alien students stared at him in absolute horror. Professor Velmora stood frozen, her forearms raised in shock. Hana appeared in the doorway, saw what had happened, and put her face in her hands. Tae-sung wiped his mouth with the back of his hand. Everyone waited for him to collapse. They waited for him to scream in pain. They waited for the toxins to kill him. Nothing happened. Tae-sung smiled. "It tastes like a richer version of duck egg," he said. "Has anyone got some salt?" Then the medical scanners started going crazy, their alarms adding to the chaos, and Professor Velmora fainted. Professor Velmora woke up 3 minutes later, surrounded by concerned students. The first thing she saw was Tae-sung still standing there, looking perfectly healthy and slightly confused about all the panic. She scrambled to her feet with all 4 arms and grabbed him by the shoulders. "Medical bay, now," she shouted, dragging him toward the exit. Tae-sung did not resist. He was starting to realize that maybe eating the egg had been a bad idea, not because he felt sick, but because everyone was acting like he had just jumped off a cliff. Hannah ran alongside them, her face pale with worry. Bix followed at a distance, his antennae twitching with anxiety. The medical bay was on the 20th floor of the station. It was a massive facility designed to treat dozens of different species, with specialized equipment for each type of biology. When Professor Velmora burst through the doors dragging a human, every medical worker stopped what they were doing. "Emergency," Professor Velmora shouted. "This human consumed a complete Vorath egg approximately 4 minutes ago. Prepare full toxin protocols." The medical staff moved fast. A gelatinous doctor oozed forward, her translucent body rippling with concern. A tall avian medic with silver feathers rushed to prepare scanning equipment. A small amphibian nurse started filling syringes with various colored liquids. They pushed Tae-sung onto a medical bed that adjusted to his body shape. Scanners descended from the ceiling, bathing him in blue light. Monitors on the walls lit up with data, showing his vital signs in real time. "How do you feel?" the gelatinous doctor asked, her voice bubbling and wet. "I feel fine," Tae-sung said honestly. "Maybe a little full, but that is normal after eating." "Full?" The doctor looked confused. "You should be experiencing neural shutdown by now." "Can you move your fingers?" Tae-sung wiggled his fingers. "Yes, can you see clearly? Any blurring, double vision, color distortion?" "I can see fine. Everything looks normal." The doctor exchanged glances with the avian medic. They both looked baffled. The scanners beeped and hummed, collecting data from Tae-sung's body. Professor Velmora paced back and forth, her crystalline feet clicking on the floor. "Stomach acid levels?" the avian medic asked, reading a display. "Measuring it." "This cannot be correct. pH level of 1.5? That is almost as acidic as battery acid." "That is normal for humans," Hannah said quietly from the doorway. She had researched human biology when she first joined the university, knowing they would be unusual here. "Human stomach acid is very strong. We need it to kill bacteria in our food." The medical staff stared at her. The concept seemed to horrify them. Minutes turned into an hour. Tae-sung remained on the medical bed while scanners analyzed every part of his body. The doctors kept expecting him to show symptoms, but none appeared. His heart rate was normal. His breathing was normal. His brain activity was normal. In fact, according to the scanners, he seemed healthier than before. "I do not understand this," the gelatinous doctor said, studying the data. "The toxin should have killed him 7 times over by now. But his body is processing it like regular food. Look at this. His digestive system is actually breaking down the toxins into harmless proteins." Professor Velmora leaned over the display, her eyes wide. "Impossible. The neurotoxin is molecularly complex. Nothing should be able to break it down that fast." "His gut bacteria are doing it," the avian medic said, pointing at another screen. "Look at the diversity. I am counting over 300 different bacterial species in his digestive system. They are working together to neutralize the toxins." 300 species? Professor Velmora looked shocked. "Most species have 10 to 20 at most. I personally have only 5, all carefully controlled. He has 300 living inside him right now?" "All humans do," Hannah said. "We carry trillions of bacteria in our bodies. They help us digest food. We cannot live without them." The medical staff looked disturbed by this information. The idea of carrying hundreds of bacterial species inside their bodies seemed disgusting to them. But they could not argue with the results. Tae-sung's bacteria were efficiently destroying the deadly toxins. 2 hours passed. Then 3. Tae-sung asked if he could have a snack because he was getting hungry again. The doctors refused, worried that adding more food might trigger a delayed reaction. But nothing happened. The monitors showed his body completely neutralizing every trace of toxin. By the 4th hour, students started gathering outside the medical bay. Word had spread across the entire university. A human had eaten a Vorath egg and survived. Some students thought it was a lie. Others came to see the impossible human for themselves. Bick stood near the door, watching through the window with his multiple eyes wide with amazement. Professor Velmora finally allowed Tae-sung to sit up. She had stopped pacing and now stood very still, her mind clearly racing. "I need to write a report about this," she said quietly. "The Galactic Medical Council will never believe it without documentation. Can I go now?" Tae-sung asked. "I have a class in 30 minutes. You want to go to class?" The gelatinous doctor burbled in disbelief. You just consumed one of the most lethal substances in the galaxy. But I feel fine. Actually, I feel energized. Like I drank a lot of coffee. The medical staff ran more tests. Taesung's energy levels were indeed elevated. Whatever nutrients were in the egg, his body was using them efficiently. The toxins that should have killed him were being converted into useful proteins and minerals. His immune system had treated the whole event as a normal meal with some unwanted bacteria, attacking and destroying anything harmful while keeping the good parts. Finally, after 5 hours of testing, the doctors cleared him to leave. They had found nothing wrong with him. Professor Velmora insisted on keeping blood samples for further study. As Taesung walked out of the medical bay, the crowd of students parted like he was some kind of celebrity. "Is it true?" a reptilian student asked. "You really ate a Vorath egg?" "Yes," Taesung said simply. The crowd murmured with amazement. Some students took pictures. Others backed away as if being near him was dangerous. Taesung did not understand what the big deal was. He had just eaten an egg. Over the next few days, Taesung became famous at the university. Students pointed at him in hallways. Professors asked him questions between classes. The university's newsfeed ran a story about the impossible human digestion. Taesung found the whole thing embarrassing. He had not meant to cause such a fuss. Hana tried to help him deal with the attention. "You have to understand," she explained as they walked to the library. "For these species, eating something toxic is like swallowing a bomb. They cannot imagine surviving it. What you did seems like a superpower to them. But humans eat toxic things all the time," Taesung said. "My uncle eats peppers so hot they make him sweat and cry. My grandmother eats fermented cabbage that smells terrible. My roommate from France eats cheese with mold growing inside it. These are normal things on Earth. Normal for us. Crazy for them." Bix started sitting with them at lunch after that. The small insectoid was fascinated by human eating habits. He asked hundreds of questions. How did humans eat plants with thorns? How did they consume liquids that burned their mouths? Why did they eat food that was intentionally rotted? Taesung tried to explain. Humans are very good at adapting. If something does not kill us immediately, we figure out how to eat it. Sometimes we even make it delicious, but why? Bix asked, genuinely confused. My species eats only sterile nutrient paste. It is safe and provides all necessary nutrition. Why risk eating dangerous things? Because food is more than just fuel, Taesung said. Food is culture. Food is family. Food is comfort and joy. My grandmother's kimchi reminds me of home. The smell takes me back to her kitchen, watching her prepare it in big clay pots. I would not trade that memory for all the safe nutrient paste in the galaxy. Bix thought about this for a long time, his antennae waving slowly. A week after the egg incident, a new person arrived at the university. His name was Jin Ho, and he was a human who worked for the Galactic Food Safety Council. He was older than Taesung, maybe 40 years old, with gray hair at his temples and a tired expression. He wore the official council uniform, a dark blue suit with silver badges. Jin Ho found Taesung in the cafeteria and sat down across from him. We need to talk, he said. Am I in trouble? Taesung asked. That depends. The council received Professor Velmora's report. They are very concerned about humans accessing dangerous food sources. Some council members want to restrict humans to designated safe eating areas only. That seems unfair. I agree. But you have to understand. The council's job is to prevent deaths from food contamination. When they hear that a species can eat deadly toxins without harm, they get worried about liability and safety protocols. Hana joined them at the table. So what happens now? Jin Ho sighed. There will be a hearing. The council wants to establish guidelines for human food consumption in galactic spaces. Professor Velmora will present her research. They will probably ask Taesung to testify. Testify about what? About eating an egg? About human biology and our eating capabilities. This is actually a big deal. Humans are still new to the galactic community. Most species do not understand our biology yet. Your little stunt has forced everyone to pay attention. Before anyone could respond, an alarm started blaring throughout the station. Red emergency lights flashed on the walls. An announcement echoed from the speakers in multiple languages. Emergency broadcast. All students and staff report to common areas for important announcement. The three humans looked at each other and then rushed toward the nearest common area, along with hundreds of other students. Large screens on the walls flickered to life, showing a Galactic Council representative. The representative was a cephalopod species, floating in a tank of water, their tentacles moving with agitation. "We have received a distress signal from colony ship Meridian," the representative announced. "The ship is carrying 10,000 civilians of multiple species. Their food synthesizers have experienced catastrophic failure. They are stranded near the outer rim with only 3 days of emergency rations remaining." The crowd murmured with concern. Colony ships were home to entire communities, including children and elderly beings. The nearest location with natural food sources is Moon designation TK447. However, survey data shows that every food source on that moon contains compounds lethal to all known galactic species. The colonists cannot eat any of it. We are organizing a supply mission, but it will take 6 days to reach them. Without food, many will die before help arrives. Taesung felt Hana grab his arm. Jinho sat very still, his eyes locked on the screen. "Unless," Jinho said quietly, "humans can eat what is on that moon." Taesung understood immediately. He stood up, his heart pounding. "I volunteer," he said loudly. "Send humans to the moon. We will test the food." The emergency council chamber was filled with representatives from dozens of species, all talking at once. The room was circular, with seats arranged in rising tiers around a central platform. Holographic displays showed the stranded colony ship and the nearby moon. The numbers were grim. 10,000 colonists, 3 days of food remaining, 6 days until supply ships could arrive. Taesung stood on the central platform with Jinho and Hana. Professor Velmora stood nearby, having insisted on coming to support what she called this insane but possibly necessary human plan. The council representatives looked down at them from their seats, some with curiosity, others with clear skepticism. The council speaker was a tall, thin being from a silicon-based species. Her body looked like polished black stone, and her voice echoed like crystals chiming together. "Let me understand this correctly. You propose sending humans to Moon TK447 to consume the local food sources and determine if they are safe for human biology?" "Yes," Jinho said firmly. "The survey data shows the moon's food contains high-sulfur compounds, capsaicin-like defensive chemicals, oxalic acid, and bacterial content in the water. These would be lethal to most galactic species. But humans have a history of consuming all of these things on our home planet." A reptilian representative hissed from his seat. "This is madness. You would risk human lives based on one student eating one egg." Professor Velmora stepped forward, her forearms gesturing to the holographic displays she had prepared. "With respect, council member, my research shows this is not about one incident. Human digestive capabilities are extraordinary. Their stomach acid can dissolve metal. Their gut bacteria number in the trillions. Their immune system attacks foreign substances with remarkable aggression. They regularly consume what other species consider poison." She brought up images from Earth showing humans eating various foods. The council members reacted with visible disgust and horror as they saw fermented foods, aged cheeses, hot peppers, raw fish, and bacteria-rich yogurts. "Humans eat bacteria on purpose?" someone asked, sounding shocked. "They call it probiotics," Professor Velmora said. "They believe it improves health. And scientifically, they are correct. Human biology is adapted for extreme omnivorous consumption." Another council member, a crystalline like Professor Velmora, spoke up. "Even if this is true, we would be sending these humans into unknown danger. What if the moon's food kills them? Then we die trying to save 10,000 people," Taesung said quietly. "That seems like a good trade." The chamber went silent. The council speaker studied Taesung for a long moment. "You would truly risk your life for colonists you have never met?" "Yes, would you not do the same?" The council speaker's crystalline body seemed to shimmer with emotion. "Assemble your team, human Jinho. You have permission to proceed. But we will send medical support and evacuation protocols. If any human shows signs of poisoning, you will evacuate immediately." 6 hours later, Taesung stood in the docking bay of a fast transport ship. The team was small but skilled. Besides Taesung and Hana, there were 2 other humans who had been working in nearby sectors. Minsu was a survival expert, trained in Earth's most extreme environments. He was older than Taesung, maybe 30, with scars on his hands from years of outdoor work. He carried himself with calm confidence, the kind that came from surviving real danger. Young Mi was a botanist, specializing in xenobiology and plant life. She was quiet and thoughtful, with sharp eyes that seemed to analyze everything. She carried a field kit full of testing equipment and sample containers. "This is either the bravest thing we have ever done or the dumbest," Minsu said, as he checked his survival gear. "Maybe both." "Definitely both," Hana agreed, organizing medical supplies. Professor Velmora boarded the ship, followed by 2 medical drones carrying emergency equipment. "I am coming with you," she announced. "You do not have to," Taesung said. "This could be dangerous. Precisely why I must document it. If humans can truly consume these foods safely, it will revolutionize our understanding of biology and food safety across the galaxy. I will not miss this opportunity even if it terrifies me." The journey to the moon took 18 hours. During the flight, they studied the survey data in detail. Moon TK-447 was a small rocky world with a thin but breathable atmosphere. It had forests of strange trees, fields of alien vegetation, and native creatures similar to Earth's deer and rabbits. It looked beautiful in the survey images, almost peaceful. But the chemical analysis told a different story. The fruits contained sulfur compounds that would burn through most species' digestive systems. The plants had oxalic acid levels high enough to cause kidney failure in many beings. The local animals stored capsaicin-like chemicals in their flesh as a defense mechanism. Even the water had bacterial content that would cause severe illness in most galactic species. "It is like the moon is designed to be inedible," Youngmi said, studying the data. "Everything has some form of chemical defense. Or Earth is designed to prepare humans for this," Minsu replied. "Think about it. We evolved eating plants with oxalic acid, rhubarb, spinach, beets. We bred peppers to be even hotter than natural and ate them for fun. We drank water filled with bacteria for thousands of years before water purification. Maybe Earth was the training ground." They landed on the moon's surface as the local sun rose over the horizon. The landscape was alien but beautiful. The trees had purple leaves that swayed in the wind. The grass was more blue than green. Strange bird-like creatures flew overhead, calling to each other with musical sounds. Taesung was the first to step off the ship. He took a deep breath of the moon's air. It smelled strange, like cinnamon mixed with rain. His scanner showed the air was safe to breathe, with oxygen levels slightly higher than Earth's. "Okay," Minsu said, activating his own scanner. "Let us start with the basics. Youngmi, find us some plant life that looks least dangerous. Taesung, you are our tester. I will hunt for local protein sources. Hana, you monitor Taesung's vital signs. Professor, document everything." They spread out in a small area near the ship, staying within sight of each other. Professor Velmora hovered nervously, her forearms clutching recording devices. The medical drones floated nearby, ready to intervene if needed. Youngmi found a bush covered with round orange fruits. She scanned them carefully. High sulfur content, moderate oxalic acid, some unknown proteins. Definitely toxic to most species. On Earth, this would be similar to a very aggressive unripe mango mixed with raw onion. She picked one fruit and handed it to Taesung. "Small bite first. Wait 5 minutes. If you feel anything wrong, tell us immediately." Taesung bit into the fruit. The taste hit him like a punch, incredibly spicy with a burning sensation that spread through his mouth. His eyes watered. His nose started running, but underneath the burn was a sweet, complex flavor. "Spicy," he gasped. "Very spicy. Like the hottest pepper I have ever eaten, but not bad." Professor Velmora watched in horror as Taesung's face turned red and sweat appeared on his forehead. "He is having a reaction. Medical intervention!" "No, wait," Hana said, checking her scanner. "His vitals are normal. This is just how humans react to capsaicin. It is not harmful, just uncomfortable." They waited 5 minutes, then 10. Taesung felt the burning sensation slowly fade. His stomach felt fine. No pain, no nausea, no dizziness. "I think it is safe," he said. Spicy, but safe. Minsu had been tracking one of the deer-like creatures. He managed to catch a small one using a net. The creature was terrified but unharmed. He carefully took a small tissue sample and analyzed it. The meat contains those capsaicin-like compounds. But if Taesung can handle the fruit, he can probably handle this. Let me prepare it properly. Minsu was an expert at field cooking. He built a small fire using local wood and cooked the meat carefully, making sure it reached a safe temperature. The smell was strange but not unpleasant, like game meat mixed with pepper. Taesung tried a small piece. It was tough and very bitter, with that same burning sensation. But it was edible. His body processed it without problems. Over the next 6 hours, they tested everything they could find. Young Mi identified plants similar to Earth spinach and rhubarb. The oxalic acid content was high but not deadly to humans. Just like on Earth, cooking reduced it to safe levels. They found tubers that tasted like spicy potatoes. They found nuts that were bitter but nutritious. Professor Velmora documented every test with growing amazement. "This is incredible. You are consuming toxins that would hospitalize my species, and you describe them as merely spicy or bitter. Your tolerance is beyond anything I imagined." They prepared samples of everything that proved safe for humans. The plan was to send this food to the colony ship, where the humans among the colonists could eat it and survive until the supply ships arrived. It was not a perfect solution, but it would keep people alive. Then Minsu found a fungus growing on the side of a tree. It looked harmless, almost like the mushrooms on Earth. He scanned it and showed the results to young Mi. "Unknown proteins, complex alkaloids, some similarity to Earth mushrooms," young Mi read. "Could be edible. Could be poisonous. Hard to tell without testing." Minsu was confident. "I have eaten hundreds of mushroom species on Earth. I know how to identify safe ones. This looks similar to shiitake. I think it is fine." He cooked a small sample and ate it before anyone could stop him. For 10 minutes, nothing happened. Minsu smiled, thinking he was right. Then he collapsed. His body started shaking. His skin turned pale. Hana rushed to his side, her medical scanner beeping urgent warnings. "Toxin in his system. Something in that fungus is poisoning him." Professor Velmora called for the medical drones. Taesung and Hana worked together trying to stabilize Minsu. His breathing was shallow. His heart rate was irregular. Whatever was in that fungus, even human biology could not handle it easily. "We need to evacuate him," Professor Velmora said, her voice high with panic. "Wait!" Young Mi was frantically searching the nearby plants, her scanner working overtime. "There might be something here that can help." In Earth ecosystems, poisonous plants often grow near plants that can counteract their toxins. It is a natural balance. She found a plant with thick, dark leaves growing just a few feet from the fungus tree. She scanned it quickly. This plant produces compounds similar to activated charcoal. It might absorb the toxins. They had no time to test it properly. Minsu was getting worse. Young Mi crushed the leaves and mixed them with water, creating a dark paste. Hana forced it into Minsu's mouth, making him swallow. Everyone held their breath. Slowly, Minsu's shaking began to ease. His color started returning. His breathing became steadier. The medical scanner showed the toxin levels in his blood, decreasing rapidly. After 30 minutes, Minsu opened his eyes. "That was unpleasant," he said weakly. "Remind me not to eat random mushrooms anymore." The relief was overwhelming. They had learned an important lesson. Humans were not invincible. They were just incredibly resilient. There were still things in the universe that could harm them. They had to be careful even with their remarkable biology, but they had succeeded. They had found food sources that humans could eat. They prepared packages of fruits, plants, meat, and instructions for preparation. Professor Velmora helped load everything onto a fast drone that would reach the colony ship within hours. As they prepared to leave the moon, Taesung looked back at the alien landscape. This strange, toxic world had proven that humans had a role to play in the galaxy, not as warriors or geniuses, but as survivors who could eat almost anything. The colony ship received their food packages and confirmed that the human colonists could safely consume everything. 10,000 people would survive because 4 humans were willing to risk eating alien food. On the journey back to the university, Professor Velmora worked on her research paper. She had titled it, "Human Digestive Capabilities, a Comprehensive Analysis of Earth's Extreme Omnivores." "This paper will change everything," she said quietly. "The galaxy has no idea what humans are truly capable of." The news spread across the galaxy faster than anyone expected. Within days, every major news network was running stories about the humans who ate toxic food to save a colony ship. The footage of Taesung testing the spicy fruits, of Minsu hunting the deer-like creatures, of young Mi identifying safe plants. It all went viral across thousands of worlds. Taesung found himself famous in a way he had never imagined. His student identification was recognized everywhere on the university station. Aliens stopped him in hallways to ask questions. Some were fascinated, others were disturbed. A few seemed almost scared of him. "I do not understand why this is such a big deal," Taesung said to Hana. as they walked to class one morning. "We just ate some food. Food that would kill most of them," Hannah reminded him. "Imagine if you saw someone casually drink acid and smile about it. That is what they see when they look at us now." Professor Vellamora's research paper was published in the Galactic Journal of Xenobiology, and it caused an immediate sensation. Scientists from hundreds of species requested access to her full data. The paper detailed everything about human digestion, from stomach acid composition to gut bacteria diversity to immune system responses. The most shocking sections detailed things humans considered completely normal. Fermented foods. Humans intentionally rotted food and ate the bacteria-rich results. Cheese, yogurt, kimchi, sauerkraut, soy sauce, wine, beer. Every human culture had fermented foods. The idea horrified most alien species who sterilized everything before eating. Spices. Humans bred plants to be more painful to eat, then consumed them for pleasure. The capsaicin in peppers triggered pain receptors, yet humans called it flavor and added it to their favorite foods. Alcohol. Humans regularly consumed what was literally a poison, purely for the way it made them feel. They had entire industries built around producing and selling ethanol in various forms. Caffeine, another poison that humans consumed daily, often multiple times per day because it made them feel more alert. Raw foods. Humans ate uncooked fish, partially cooked eggs, raw vegetables that other species had to boil for hours. They trusted their immune systems to handle any bacteria. Aged foods. Humans stored meat and cheese for months or years, allowing it to develop molds and bacteria, then considered it a delicacy. The more aged, the more expensive. The paper included testimony from Minsu's near-death experience with the fungus, proving that humans were not completely invulnerable. But it also showed how quickly human biology could recover when given the right treatment. Minsu was fully healthy within 2 days of the incident. 1 week after returning to the university, Taesung was called to a meeting with the Galactic Council. The entire team went: Taesung, Hana, Minsu, Youngmi, Jinho, and Professor Velmora. They entered the Grand Council chamber, which was even larger than the emergency chamber they had seen before. The council speaker welcomed them warmly. "Your actions saved 10,000 lives. The galaxy owes you gratitude. But we also face new questions. If humans can safely consume foods that are toxic to others, what role should humans play in galactic food safety and exploration?" Jinho stepped forward. He had been preparing for this moment. "I propose the creation of a new division within the Galactic Council, the Galactic Food Assessment and Resource Team. Humans would lead teams to evaluate food sources on new worlds, in emergency situations and in unexplored territories. We could identify safe foods faster and more efficiently than current methods." The council members discussed this among themselves. Some were enthusiastic. Others were cautious. A reptilian representative raised a concern. "What about liability? If a human is poisoned during testing, who is responsible?" "Humans accept the risk," Minsu said firmly. "We have been doing dangerous work on Earth for thousands of years. We explore, we test, we push boundaries. It is part of who we are. Give us proper training and equipment and we will do this work gladly." A crystalline representative asked, "But why? Why would you risk yourselves this way?" Taesung thought about his answer carefully. "Because someone has to. Because we can. And because food is important, not just for survival but for culture and community. Every species should have access to diverse, nutritious food. If we can help with that, we should." The vote was close, but it passed. The Galactic Food Assessment and Resource Team was officially created, with Jinho appointed as its first director. Humans would be recruited from across the galaxy to join the program. They would receive training in xenobiology, survival skills, first aid, and food science. Life at the university changed after that. More human students enrolled, specifically requesting the new food science program. The university opened a human cuisine research center, where students could study Earth's incredible food diversity. Bix, the small insectoid student who had befriended Taesung, started attending optional human food tasting events. The first time he tried a tiny piece of kimchi, his entire body shivered with the shock of fermented flavor. But he came back the next week to try something else. "Why do you keep coming if it scares you?" Taesung asked him. Bix's antennae waved thoughtfully. "Because you taught me something important. My species has eaten the same sterile paste for thousands of years. We thought it was the only safe way. But watching you eat with such joy, such curiosity, it made me realize we have been missing something. Not just food, but the experience of trying new things. I may never eat like a human, but I can be braver than I was. Professor Velmora continued her research, now with full funding from the council. She started a long-term study comparing human digestion to all other known species. She discovered that humans were not just unusual, they were unique. No other species had their combination of aggressive stomach acid, diverse gut bacteria, and adaptable immune systems. Evolution pushed your species very hard, she told Tai-Sung during one research session. Earth must have been an incredibly challenging environment. It was, Tai-Sung agreed. Humans evolved during ice ages and droughts. We learned to eat anything we could find: roots, insects, raw meat, plants, whatever kept us alive. The picky eaters did not survive to pass on their genes. Fascinating and terrifying. Your entire species is built for survival at any cost. 3 months after the moon mission, the first emergency call came to the new Galactic Food Assessment and Resource Team. A research station on the planet Keros 9 had sent a distress signal. 12 scientists were sick with an unknown illness. They needed help urgently. Jinho assembled a team immediately. Tai-Sung volunteered without hesitation. Hana insisted on coming as the team medic. Young Mai joined to analyze any plant-based treatments. Minsu came as the survival expert. Professor Velmora asked to observe and document. They traveled to Keros 9, which was a jungle planet with thick vegetation and high humidity. The research station was small, built to study the planet's unique ecosystem. When they arrived, they found the scientists in bad condition. The station's doctor, a gelatinous being named Kelvar, explained the situation. They were studying local parasites when one scientist was accidentally exposed. The parasite infected him, then spread to others. We have tried every known treatment. Nothing works. The parasite is killing them slowly. The sick scientists looked terrible. They were weak, feverish, and in pain. Young Mi studied samples of the parasite under a microscope, while Professor Velmora reviewed the medical data. This is a complex organism, Young Mi said. It has a multi-stage life cycle. Look at this. During its larval stage, the parasite produces an antidote to its own toxins. It is a defense mechanism, preventing the host from dying too quickly. So the cure is inside the parasite? Hana asked. Yes, but there is a problem. To access the antidote, you would need to consume the larval form of the parasite, which means ingesting the same toxins that are making them sick. It would kill any species that tried. Everyone turned to look at Tai-Sung. He understood immediately. You need me to eat the parasite. It is too dangerous, Professor Velmora said quickly. We almost lost Minsu to a toxic fungus. This could be worse. But if I do not try, those 12 scientists will die. Dr. Kelvar brought out a sample of the parasite larvae preserved in a jar. They looked like translucent worms about the size of Tai-Sung's thumb. They pulsed with a sickly green light. This is the most disgusting thing I have ever been asked to eat, Tai-Sung said honestly, staring at the jar. You do not have to do this, Hana said, putting a hand on his shoulder. We can keep looking for another solution. Tai-Sung thought about his grandmother, who had survived war and famine on Earth. She had told him stories about eating tree bark and grass to survive. She had taught him that survival sometimes required doing unpleasant things. He thought about the 12 dying scientists who had been trying to help people by studying this planet. Prepare the sample, he said. I will do it. Young Mai prepared the larvae carefully, making sure they were from the correct life stage. Minsu stood nearby with emergency medical equipment. Hana had her scanner ready to monitor Tai-Sung's vital signs every second. Professor Velmora recorded everything, her forearms trembling slightly. The prepared larvae looked even worse up close. They smelled like rotten eggs mixed with chemicals. Tai-Sung picked one up with chopsticks. Everyone held their breath. For the record, Tai-Sung said, I really do not want to eat this. Then he put it in his mouth and swallowed as fast as possible. The taste was indescribably bad. Bitter, sour, chemical, and slimy all at once. His stomach immediately protested. He felt nauseous and dizzy. The toxins hit his system hard. But his body fought back. His stomach acid attacked the parasite. His gut bacteria went to war against the foreign organism. His immune system, already strengthened by months of testing alien foods, mobilized every defense. The antidote compounds from the larvae began to spread through his bloodstream. His body grabbed onto them, using them to fight the toxins. It was the most painful hour of Tae-sung's life. He sweated, shook, and felt like his insides were on fire. But he survived. 12 hours later, his blood contained the antibodies needed to cure the infected scientists. The medical team synthesized the antibodies and administered them to the sick researchers. Within hours, they began to recover. Tae-sung lay in the medical bay, exhausted but alive. Hana sat next to him, holding his hand. "That was the bravest and stupidest thing I have ever seen you do," she said. "I know," he whispered. "But it worked." Professor Velmora stood at the foot of his bed. "You humans are remarkable. Foolish, reckless, and incredibly brave. I am honored to know you." The story of Tae-sung eating the parasite to save the scientists spread even faster than the previous stories. Humans became known across the galaxy not as warriors or conquerors, but as the species crazy enough to eat anything to help others. The Galactic Food Assessment and Resource Team received hundreds of requests for assistance. Human volunteers signed up from every corner of human-controlled space, and Tae-sung, the student who just wanted to study xenobiology, became the face of humanity's greatest and strangest gift to the galaxy: the ability to digest almost anything and smile about it. 6 months had passed since Tae-sung ate the parasite larvae on Karos 9. In that time, everything had changed. The Galactic Food Assessment and Resource Team had grown to over 200 human members working across dozens of systems. They tested alien foods, identified safe eating practices, and helped establish emergency food sources on new colony worlds. Tae-sung had been promoted from student volunteer to official team leader of the university's Food Assessment Division. He still attended classes, but now he also trained new human recruits in safe testing procedures. The irony was not lost on him. The person teaching food safety had started his career by eating a deadly egg against all warnings. The university had transformed too. What had started as quiet academic research into human digestion had become a major field of study. Professor Vilmora now headed the Department of Human Biology and Comparative Digestion. Her research papers were required reading for any student studying xenobiology. Bix had made remarkable progress in his personal journey. The small insectoid still could not eat most human foods, but he had expanded his diet to include 3 new types of nutrient paste with different flavors. For his species, this was revolutionary. He often told other students that knowing the humans had taught him bravery. Hana had become the team's chief medical officer, developing protocols for treating humans who consumed toxic substances. Her research into emergency treatments had saved lives during several close calls on other worlds. She had also published a popular guide called The Galactic Omnivore's Handbook, which explained human eating capabilities in simple terms for alien readers. Young Mi ran the Botanical Research Division, cataloging which alien plants were safe for human consumption. Her database contained over 5,000 entries and was growing daily. She had discovered that many plants considered deadly to other species were actually nutritious for humans. Min-soo had recovered completely from his fungus poisoning and now trained new recruits in survival skills. He had a rule he repeated constantly: humans can eat almost anything, but almost is not the same as everything. Stay alert, stay careful, and stay alive. Jin Ho's Galactic Food Assessment and Resource Team had become one of the most respected organizations in the Council. They had responded to 17 major food emergencies and countless smaller incidents. Their success rate was remarkable. No human had died during food testing, though several had come close. Life had settled into a comfortable rhythm. Tae-sung thought the biggest challenges were behind them. Then the emergency call came from the research station on the quarantined planet Helios 3. The message was brief and desperate. 12 alien scientists studying an isolated ecosystem had been infected by a local organism. The infection was spreading. They were dying. No known medicine could help. The message ended with a plea: send humans. Our only hope may be in consuming the source. Tae-sung read the full report in the emergency briefing room. Helios 3 was a planet under strict quarantine due to its dangerous biosphere. The research team there had permission to study the planet from a sealed facility, but somehow the infection had gotten inside. The organism was unlike anything in the galactic databases. It was part virus, part parasite, part something else entirely. It invaded cells, rewrote genetic material, and produced toxins that caused organ failure. The infected scientist had days to live at most. The organism has a complex life cycle, Youngmi explained, displaying microscope images on the wall screen. It produces an antidote during its reproductive stage, similar to the parasite on Keros 9. But this is much more dangerous. The toxin load is significantly higher. How much higher? Hana asked, though her face showed she already feared the answer. About 50 times more concentrated. Even with human digestive capabilities, this is extremely risky. Professor Velmora stood at the back of the room, her forearms crossed. I must advise against this mission. The danger is too great. We should wait for more data, develop synthetic treatments. The scientists do not have time to wait. Tae-sung said quietly. How long until synthetic treatments could be ready? Weeks, maybe months. They have days. Jinho looked at Tae-sung seriously. You do not have to do this. You have done more than enough already. We can send someone else. Who? I have the most experience with toxic organisms. I have eaten things that poisoned other team members. My body has adapted to dozens of different toxins. If anyone can survive this, it is me. Or it will kill you, Hana said bluntly. Tae-sung, I have been monitoring your health for months. Every time you consume something toxic, it takes a toll. Your liver shows stress markers. Your immune system is constantly fighting. You are not invincible. I know, but those scientists are dying right now. I have to try. The decision was made. The team would go to Helios 3. Tae-sung would be the primary tester. Hana would provide medical support. Young Mai would analyze the organism and prepare it for consumption. Minsu would handle logistics and safety protocols. Professor Velmora insisted on coming to document what she called either humanity's greatest triumph or a tragedy we must learn from. The journey to Helios 3 took 2 days. During the trip, Tae-sung prepared mentally. He reviewed all his previous experiences with toxic foods. He meditated, using techniques his grandmother had taught him for facing difficult challenges. He wrote messages to his family back on Earth, just in case. Hana spent the journey running medical simulations trying to predict what would happen when Tae-sung consumed the organism. The results were not encouraging. Even with the best medical support, the survival probability was less than 60%. I wish you would not do this, she said on the night before arrival. I know, Tae-sung replied, but someone has to, and I am the best chance those scientists have. You are also my friend. I do not want to watch you die. Then make sure I do not die. That is what you are here for. They arrived at Helios 3's orbital station and took a shuttle down to the quarantined research facility. The planet itself was beautiful but deadly. Lush jungles filled with plants and creatures that produced toxins as naturally as Earth plants produced oxygen. The research facility was a sealed dome, designed to keep the dangerous ecosystem out. Inside the facility, the infected scientists lay in medical beds, tended by medical drones. They looked terrible. Their skin had turned grayish. Their breathing was labored. Some were unconscious. The head researcher, a crystalline named Korath, was still conscious but barely. You came, Korath whispered when she saw Tae-sung. Thank you. I am sorry we need to ask this of you. You were trying to help people by studying this world, Tae-sung said. Now let me help you. Young Mi had already received samples of the organism. She worked quickly, identifying the reproductive stage that produced the antidote compounds. The organisms looked like tiny jellyfish, translucent and pulsing with bioluminescent colors. They were almost beautiful if you could forget they were deadly. The concentration of toxins is extreme, Young Mi reported. I can prepare 3 doses at different strengths. We should start with the weakest. No, Tae-sung said. We do not have time for gradual testing. Prepare a full-strength dose. If I'm going to do this, I need to generate enough antibodies to save all 12 scientists. Hana started to protest, but Tae-sung cut her off gently. You know I am right. A weak dose might not be enough. The preparation took an hour. Young Mai carefully harvested the organisms at their exact reproductive stage, when the antidote production was highest. She processed them minimally, knowing that too much processing might destroy the needed compounds. The final preparation looked like glowing soup, thick with translucent organisms floating in liquid. It smelled chemical and wrong, like poison should smell. Tae-sung sat in the medical bay surrounded by monitoring equipment. Hana attached sensors to track his vital signs. Medical drones hovered nearby, ready with emergency treatments. Professor Velmora positioned her recording equipment. Minsu stood ready with evacuation protocols. Last chance to back out, Minsu said. Not backing out. Tae-sung picked up the container with the prepared organisms. His hands were steady, though his heart was racing. He thought about his grandmother one last time, about her stories of survival, about her teaching that sometimes courage meant doing frightening things because they needed to be done. He lifted the container to his lips and drank. The taste was beyond terrible. Chemical fire mixed with bitterness and a texture that made him want to vomit immediately. But he forced himself to swallow again and again until the container was empty. For 30 seconds, nothing happened. Then the pain hit like a freight train. Tae-sung's entire body seized up. The toxins attacked his nervous system, his blood cells, his organs. His stomach felt like it was dissolving from the inside. He could not breathe properly. His vision blurred and darkened. Hana watched the monitors in horror. Every alarm was going off. His vitals are crashing. Heart rate at 160 and climbing, blood pressure dropping. The medical drones moved in, administering emergency medications. But the toxins were overwhelming. For a terrible minute, it looked like Tae-sung would die. Then his body began to fight back. His immune system, trained by months of consuming toxic substances, recognized the threat and mobilized with incredible speed. His gut bacteria, diverse and aggressive, attacked the organisms. His liver, stressed but functional, began processing the toxins faster than seemed possible. And deep in his cells, where the organisms had infiltrated, his DNA fought back with the stubborn resilience that had kept humans alive through ice ages and plagues and famines. His body refused to die. The antidote compounds from the consumed organisms began to work, guided by his immune system to the places they were needed most. His body learned, adapted, created antibodies at an accelerated rate. The process took 12 hours. For 12 hours, Tae-sung's body was a battlefield. Hana never left his side, adjusting treatments every few minutes based on the monitor readings. Young Mi analyzed his blood samples constantly, tracking the development of antibodies. Professor Velmora documented everything with shaking hands. Finally, the monitors began to stabilize. Tae-sung's heart rate decreased to normal levels. His blood pressure recovered. His breathing became steady. He opened his eyes. Did it work? He whispered. Hana was crying. You are alive. That is what matters. Did it work? Young Mi checked the latest blood sample. Yes, your blood has the antibodies. We can synthesize them and treat the scientists. The medical team moved quickly. They extracted Tae-sung's antibody-rich blood plasma and used it to create treatments for the 12 infected scientists. One by one, the scientists received the synthesized cure. One by one, they began to recover. Korath was the first to regain full consciousness. She looked at Tae-sung, who was still weak and pale in the medical bed. You risked your life for us, she said softly. Why? Tae-sung smiled weakly. Because I could. Because you needed help. Because that is what we do. The recovery took 3 days. All 12 scientists survived and would make full recoveries. Tae-sung needed a week before he could leave the medical bay. The ordeal had pushed his body to its absolute limits. Hana insisted on 2 months of mandatory rest after they returned to the university. News of the Helios 3 rescue spread across the galaxy. The story of the human who consumed deadly organisms to save alien scientists became legendary. But this time the coverage was different. The galactic community was not just amazed. They were beginning to truly understand. Humans were not stronger than other species. They were not smarter or faster, but they had evolved on a world so challenging, so filled with danger and scarcity, that they had developed the ability to eat almost anything and survive almost anywhere. And more importantly, they were willing to use that ability to help others, even at great personal risk. Professor Velmora published her final comprehensive paper on human biology. The conclusion was simple. Humans are the galaxy's extreme survivors, and their greatest strength is not just their biology, but their choice to use it for the benefit of all species. 3 months after Helios 3, the Galactic University held a ceremony. Tae-sung, still recovering but healthy, stood before an audience of thousands. The council speaker presented him with the Galactic Medal of Service, the highest honor the council could give. You have shown us something we did not know we needed to see, the council speaker said. True courage is not the absence of fear, but the choice to act despite it. You have our gratitude, our respect, and our friendship." After the ceremony, Taesung returned to his normal life. He taught his classes, trained new recruits, and occasionally tested new foods when the situation required it. But he was more careful now, more aware of his limits. He stood in the university cafeteria one afternoon, the same place where this had all started. The container that had once held the Vorith eggs was now displayed in a museum exhibit about human biology. Students came from across the galaxy to see it and hear the story. Bix joined him at the window, looking out at the stars. The small insectoid had become one of Taesung's best friends over the months.
"Do you ever regret eating that first egg?"
Bix asked. Taesung thought about it. No, it led to all of this, the team, the research, the lives saved. Sometimes the strangest choices lead to the most important outcomes. What will you do next? Keep teaching. Keep learning. Keep helping where I can, he smiled, and maybe try to find foods that taste good instead of just deadly. Outside the window, a human-operated food assessment ship launched toward unexplored space. On board were scientists, survival experts, and medical staff, all human, all ready to test whatever the universe had to offer. Professor Velmora joined them at the window, watching the ship depart. "Your species has given the galaxy a gift," she said. "Not just your ability to digest toxins, but your willingness to face danger for others. That is the real superpower." "We just do what needs to be done," Taesung said. "Exactly. And that is why the galaxy is better with humans in it." In the years that followed, human cuisine restaurants opened on space stations across the galaxy. The Galactic Food Assessment and Resource Team became essential to exploration and colonization efforts. The university's human biology program became one of the most prestigious in the galaxy, and Taesung, the student who had eaten a forbidden egg because he was curious, became a professor himself. He taught thousands of students, human and alien alike, about nutrition, survival, and the importance of trying new things carefully. His first rule for students was always the same. If it does not kill us immediately, humans will figure out how to eat it, and we will probably figure out how to make it delicious. But we will test it safely, document everything, and never forget that bravery and recklessness are not the same thing. The second rule was simpler. Always carry hot sauce. It makes everything better. And as humanity spread across the stars, they brought with them their greatest gifts: curiosity, resilience, and the willingness to taste the unknown. The galaxy would never be the same.